How to build leverage when you have nothing. Lessons from Leonardo da Vinci and Napoleon Hill. The question that changes everything. What if the moment you have the least is actually the moment you have the most to gain? That sounds like a contradiction. But stay with me, because this idea is at the heart of how two of history's greatest minds built empires from nothing. Leonardo da Vinci was born illegitimate, denied formal education, and shut out of the elite circles of Renaissance Italy. Napoleon Hill was born in a log cabin in the Appalachian Mountains, raised in poverty so deep it left marks on his soul. Neither man started with money, connections, or status. Yet both went on to influence millions of lives across centuries. The secret they both discovered, through very different paths, was leverage. Not financial leverage, not the kind you borrow from a bank. The kind that multiplies your effort, your time, your ideas, and your relationships into something far greater than the sum of your parts. This is the kind of leverage that anyone can build. Right now with what you already have. If you are sitting there feeling like the odds are stacked against you, like you are starting from zero, like everyone else has a head start, this is for you. Because starting from nothing is not a disadvantage. It is the exact condition that forged the sharpest minds in human history. Let's break down exactly how you can build leverage when you have nothing, using timeless lessons from Da Vinci and Hill. What leverage actually means. Before we go further, let's get clear on what leverage actually is, because most people misunderstand it. Leverage is anything that allows a small input to create a large output. A physical lever lets one person move a boulder they could never lift with their bare hands. In life, leverage works the same way. It is the force multiplier that separates people who work hard and stay stuck from people who work smart and scale. There are four primary types of leverage available to every human being regardless of their financial situation: knowledge, relationships, tools, and ideas. You do not need money to access any of these. You need intention, discipline, and a strategy. Napoleon Hill spent over 20 years interviewing more than 500 of the most successful people in the world, including Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, and Thomas Edison. What he found was not that these people were smarter or luckier than everyone else. What he found was that they understood leverage instinctively. They knew how to take a small resource, a single idea, a single relationship, a single skill, and multiply it into something massive. Da Vinci understood the same principle through a different lens. As a visual thinker, an inventor, a scientist, and an artist, he saw leverage in the mechanics of the natural world. He studied birds to understand flight. He studied water to understand movement. He was always looking for the hidden mechanism, the lever, that made something work. Both men were masters of leverage. And both men started with almost nothing. The leverage of obsessive curiosity. Leonardo da Vinci did not go to school the way other children did. He was the illegitimate son of a notary, which meant he was barred from entering certain professions in Renaissance Florence. He could not become a lawyer. He could not inherit his father's business in the traditional sense. The doors that were open to other young men were closed to him. So he did something radical. He became curious about everything. Not casually curious, obsessively, relentlessly, almost pathologically curious. His notebooks, which survive to this day, contain over 13,000 pages of observations, sketches, and ideas spanning anatomy, engineering, geology, astronomy, music, botany, and more. He did not limit his curiosity to one field because no one told him he had to. His outsider status became his greatest advantage. Curiosity is one of the most underrated forms of leverage in the world. When you are genuinely curious, you learn faster than anyone in the room. You ask better questions. You connect dots that specialists miss because they are too deep inside their lane. You become a bridge between worlds, and bridges are incredibly valuable. If you feel like you do not have credentials, experience, or expertise right now, start here. Pick one subject and go deeper than anyone around you. Then pick another. Then find the connection between them. That intersection, that place where two worlds meet and no one else is standing, that is where leverage lies. Da Vinci lived in that intersection his entire life. It made him irreplaceable. The leverage of a mastermind. Napoleon Hill coined the concept of the mastermind, a group of two or more people who come together in a spirit of harmony and coordination toward a definite purpose. Hill believed, and Carnegie confirmed, that the mastermind is one of the most powerful forces available to any human being. Here is why. When two minds come together, something happens that is greater than the sum of those two minds. Ideas collide, blind spots disappear, energy compounds. Hill called this the third mind, an invisible intelligence that emerges from genuine collaboration and shared purpose. The people who dismiss this as mystical are missing the point. The neuroscience backs it up. When people collaborate with trust and shared intent, they problem solve faster, see more options, and sustain motivation longer than any individual working alone. Now, how does this apply to you when you have nothing? Simple. You do not need money to build a mastermind. You need relationships, and relationships are built on the currency of genuine value. Find the people who are slightly ahead of where you want to be, not celebrities. Not billionaires. Real people in your community, your industry, or your online world who are doing the thing you want to do. Show up for them, help them, learn from them, add value without asking for anything in return. Do that consistently and watch what happens. The relationships you build now, before you have anything, will become the foundation of everything you build later. Hill knew this, Carnegie knew this, and now you know it too. The leverage of a definite chief aim. One of Napoleon Hill's most foundational teachings is the concept of a definite chief aim. Not a vague wish, not a loose goal, a specific, written, emotionally charged target that you commit to pursuing with everything you have. This concept is leverage in its purest form. Here is why. Focus is a multiplier. When you scatter your energy across 10 different directions, each direction gets 10% of your power. When you concentrate everything on one definite aim, you bring 100% of your capacity to bear on that single point. Like a magnifying glass focusing sunlight, suddenly, something ignites. Most people who feel like they have nothing are actually suffering from a lack of direction more than a lack of resources. They have energy, they have time, they have ideas, but it is all dispersed, unfocused, wasted. Hill prescribed a cure. Write down exactly what you want to achieve. Be specific. Put a date on it. Describe what you are willing to give in exchange for it, because nothing comes from nothing, and leverage is not magic. It is effort multiplied by direction. Da Vinci had his own version of this. Despite his seemingly scattered interests, every project he committed to received his total devotion. When he was painting the Last Supper, he would sometimes stand motionless in front of the canvas for hours, not painting, just thinking. He was not wasting time. He was concentrating his mental leverage on a single point until clarity broke through. Define your aim. Write it down. Read it every single day. This is not a ritual. It is a strategy for keeping your leverage focused where it matters most. The leverage of specialized knowledge. Hill drew a sharp distinction between general knowledge and specialized knowledge. General knowledge, no matter how vast, is of little use on its own. The world does not reward people simply for knowing things. It rewards people for applying knowledge in ways that solve specific problems. Specialized knowledge is leverage because it gives you something rare to offer. Rarity creates value. Value creates opportunity. Here is the liberating truth. You do not need a degree, a certificate, or years of experience to develop specialized knowledge. What you need is time and intention. Pick a problem that the world has, a real, painful, expensive problem that people desperately want solved. Then study that problem with everything you have. Read every book, watch every interview, talk to every expert who will give you 5 minutes. Experiment, document your findings, share what you learn. Over time, and this process can happen faster than you think, you will know more about that specific problem than 95% of people on the planet. That is leverage. Da Vinci developed specialized knowledge in anatomy by performing his own dissections when no one else was doing it. He developed specialized knowledge in hydraulics by spending years observing rivers, floods, and canals. He did not wait for an institution to grant him permission. He went and got the knowledge himself. You can do the same. The internet has democratized access to information in a way that would have stunned even Da Vinci. The library that used to belong only to the wealthy now fits in your pocket. Use it like your life depends on it, because in a very real way, your future does. The leverage of your personal brand. Here is something Hill could not have fully predicted, but that Da Vinci understood intuitively. Your reputation is leverage. Da Vinci understood that patrons, the wealthy families and institutions who funded artists and inventors, were not just buying work. They were buying a name. A story, a reputation for genius. He cultivated that reputation deliberately. He presented himself with confidence even when projects were unfinished. He wrote long, detailed letters to potential employers listing his capabilities in engineering, architecture, painting, and military design. He was not arrogant, he was strategic. He understood that his personal brand was an asset, and he invested in it. In today's world, this concept is more accessible and more powerful than ever. Your personal brand is the story the world tells about you when you are not in the room. It is built through every piece of content you create, every conversation you have, every promise you keep or break. When you have nothing else, your brand is the one asset you can start building today with zero capital. Start sharing what you know. Write, record, teach. Be consistent. Be honest. Be specific. Show people the journey, not just the destination. Audiences do not just follow success. They follow transformation. They follow someone who is figuring it out in real time because it makes them feel like they can do it too. Build your brand before you need it. By the time you need it, it will already be working for you. The leverage of failure is feedback. Leonardo da Vinci never finished many of his greatest projects. The Adoration of the Magi, unfinished. The Battle of Anghiari, unfinished. His flying machine never flew. His massive equestrian statue destroyed before it was ever cast. By conventional standards, Da Vinci failed constantly. By his own standard, every failure was data. Every failed experiment in his notebooks was followed by analysis, revision, and a new attempt. He did not treat failure as an endpoint. He treated it as information. Napoleon Hill lost everything multiple times. His son was born without ears, a devastating circumstance that would break most people. His business ventures collapsed. His marriages ended. He struggled with poverty well into adulthood. But in Think and Grow Rich, he wrote extensively about the seed of equivalent benefit, the idea that inside every failure is the seed of an equally great or greater success, if you are willing to look for it. This reframe is leverage, because if failure is just feedback, then every setback you experience is actually adding to your knowledge base. Every mistake is making you smarter, sharper, more capable, as long as you extract the lesson and keep moving. The people who build leverage from nothing are not people who avoid failure. They are people who fail fast, learn faster, and never confuse a temporary setback with a permanent condition. Start seeing your failures as your most valuable curriculum. They are the leverage of time and consistency. Here is the leverage that almost no one talks about, and it is the most powerful of all. Time, compounded with consistency, creates results that look like magic from the outside. Da Vinci spent a full 4 years painting the Mona Lisa. He carried it with him everywhere, adding tiny details, refining it obsessively. What looks like a timeless masterpiece is actually the result of thousands of micro-decisions made consistently over years. Hill spent over 20 years researching and writing Think and Grow Rich. He was not working on it every single day with perfect discipline. But he kept returning to it, he kept refining the idea, he kept gathering evidence. The result was a book that has sold over 100 million copies and continues to change lives nearly a century after it was first published. Consistency is leverage because most people quit. They start something with enormous energy, hit the first wall, and abandon it if you simply refuse to quit. If you keep showing up even when progress is invisible, you will eventually outlast almost everyone who started alongside you. That is not inspiration. That is mathematics. The graph of consistent effort over time is not linear. It is exponential. The early years look flat and discouraging. Then something shifts. Momentum builds. And what looked impossible becomes inevitable. Start now, stay consistent. Play the long game. Time is the one resource that is equally distributed among every human being on Earth. How you use it is entirely up to you. The leverage of imagination. Napoleon Hill dedicated an entire chapter of Think and Grow Rich to imagination, specifically, the difference between synthetic imagination and creative imagination. Synthetic imagination takes existing ideas and rearranges them into something new. Creative imagination receives entirely new concepts from a deeper source, what Hill called infinite intelligence. Whether you believe in the metaphysical framework or not, the practical point is undeniable. Imagination is leverage. Every product, every business, every movement, every work of art began as an idea in someone's mind. Ideas are the raw material of reality. Da Vinci's notebooks are a masterclass in imagination as leverage. He imagined a helicopter in the 15th century. He imagined a solar power concentrator. He imagined a tank, a robot, and a calculator, all before the technology existed to build them. He was not hallucinating. He was using imagination as a tool to project his mind into the future and work backward to the present. You can do this too. Sit quietly. Imagine the life you want to be living 5 years from now. Make it vivid. Make it specific. Feel what it feels like to already be there. Then ask yourself, what would the person living that life have done today? That question is a compass. It points you toward the actions that matter and away from the distractions that waste your leverage. Imagination is not a luxury. It is a strategy, the leverage of service. Here is perhaps the most counterintuitive lesson from both men. The fastest way to build leverage is to give it away. Da Vinci's greatest patrons came to him not because he asked for their money, but because his work served them. He solved their problems. He made their visions real. He created things they could not imagine on their own. He made himself indispensable, and indispensability is the highest form of leverage. Hill was even more explicit about this. He wrote about going the extra mile, delivering more value than you are paid to deliver, more service than is expected, more effort than is required. This is not naive generosity. It is a calculated strategy for building a reputation so powerful that opportunities chase you instead of the other way around. When you are starting from nothing, you have no leverage except your willingness to serve. That is enough. Find the people you want to work with, learn from, or be around, and then find a way to make their lives better. Solve a problem, save them time, share a resource, make an introduction, do it without expectation of immediate return. Do it consistently. The law of reciprocity is one of the most reliable forces in human psychology. When you give generously and authentically, it comes back, often multiplied, often from directions you never expected. Service is not sacrifice. Service is the most powerful investment you can make when you have no other capital to deploy. Putting it all together. So here is your blueprint, the exact framework for building leverage when you have nothing, drawn from two of history's greatest minds. Start with obsessive curiosity. Pick the intersection of 2 or 3 subjects you are genuinely fascinated by and go deeper than anyone around you. Let your curiosity become your credential. Build your mastermind. Find 2 or 3 people who share your values and your direction. Show up for them before you ask anything of them. Let the power of aligned minds multiply your effort. Define your definite chief aim. Write it down. Be specific. Be bold. Read it every day until it becomes a burning obsession rather than a distant wish. Develop specialized knowledge. Find a painful, expensive problem. Become the world's expert on that problem. Share what you learn freely and publicly. Build your personal brand. Start creating. Start teaching. Be consistent. Be honest. Let the world watch you grow in real time. Treat failure as feedback. Extract the lesson. Make the adjustment. Keep moving. Never mistake a temporary setback for a permanent condition. Show up consistently over time. Play the long game. Outlast the quitters. Let compounding do what it does best. Use your imagination as a tool. Visualize the future you want in vivid detail, then work backward to today's actions. Lead with service. Give before you ask. Deliver more than is expected. Make yourself indispensable. Let your reputation do the selling for you. This is not a theory. This is the documented, proven, historically validated path that Da Vinci and Hill both walked, from nothing to legendary. The path is still here. It is open, and it starts the moment you decide to take the first step. Final words. You do not need to wait until you have money. You do not need to wait until you have connections. You do not need to wait until you have credentials, status, followers, or permission from anyone. The leverage you need is already inside you. It is in your curiosity. It is in your ideas. It is in your willingness to serve, to learn, to fail, to adjust, and to keep going. Da Vinci built an immortal legacy from the margins of Renaissance society. Hill built a philosophy that has transformed hundreds of millions of lives from a log cabin in Appalachian poverty. Neither man waited for perfect conditions. They built leverage with what they had, where they were, right now, and so can you. The world does not reward the most talented. It does not even reward the most hardworking. It rewards the people who understand leverage, who know how to take a small force and use it to move something much, much bigger. That person can be you. Starting today, starting now, if this resonated with you, if even one idea in here gave you a new way to look at your situation, then do yourself a favor and subscribe to this channel. Every single week, we go deep on the mindset, the strategy, and the timeless wisdom that separates people who stay stuck from people who build something real. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications, and join a community of people who are serious about building leverage, creating freedom, and living on their own terms. The next video could be the one that changes everything for you. See you there.